Mean intro, yo. Mean intro. Welcome to TRT Productions. I am your host, Big Rain. Mean intro. Like that intro. I'm going to keep that. Love that intro. What's happening, everybody across the world? You could be anywhere you want it to be, but I'm glad you click on to listen to me. Appreciate it. Love it. I just want to get into something that I came across. It's an article by Curtis Bunn. Very good author. I shouldn't say author, say writer. I read a couple of articles that he has done in the past. I just found this article to be very, I don't want to say disturbing. I never like to say disturbing because I've always come to the conclusion that when you tell a story, there's three sides to every story. There's the story you know, the story that's told, and the story that God knows. Somewhere in that order, not always that effect. But anyway, he starts off the article by saying, after all the attention the Black Lives Matter-led racial justice movement generated after George Floyd's death in 2020, new data showed that the number of black people killed by police has actually increased over the last 2 years. Now, I looked at that. That was the first thing that caught my eye about the article. Excuse me. And then it goes on to say, according to the data collected by the Washington Post, police shot and killed at least 1,055 people nationwide last year, the most since the newspaper began tracking fatal shooting by officers in 2015. That is more than 1,021 shooters in 2020 and 999 in 2019. I found that to be interesting because some of that can be slightly misunderstood, depending on how you're looking at it, because he doesn't give you an actual fact of who was being shot. He just tells you 1,055, but he tells you at the beginning of the article that it was an increase in black lives being shot by police. But he doesn't give you an actual increase. He just tells you that 1,055 people nationwide last year, the most since the newspaper began. So that made me a little skeptical. It is not because he's a bad writer. I think he's absolutely a great writer. So this is no shame or push on Curtis Bunn. Like I always get this guy, Curtis Bunn, CurtisBunn, Curtis Bunn. And then he finishes up the article by saying black people who accounted for 30% of the U.S. population accounted for 27% of those fatally shot and killed by police in 2021. And this is where the article takes a twist for me at. Because it goes on to start to say about certain people being killed. It's almost like they made it look like the police department was being paid to be murder for hire. And you see right there, that's where I get a little testy. I get a little, it bothers me just a little. You know why it bothers me? And I'm going to tell you. Because what you read in the paper and the percentage of what a person can give you. Black people who account for 13% of the U.S. population accounted for 27% of those fatally shot and killed by police in 2021. How? If we only 13% of the population, how can we account for 27% of we would be dead if we had to hit 27%. That's like for every 5 people shot, 3 of them are black. And that's trying to say that 3 of them are black, at least 1 of them was shot by police. My question is, who are the other 2 shot by? That's where I have my problem. See, these articles and people who march with Black Lives Matter, I read you guys faithfully. Right or wrong, whether you go left, whether you go right, I read you guys faithfully. I think you guys have a mission. I have yet to see what the mission is, because the shootings by police haven't stopped. Let's not even get that far in. That hasn't stopped. That's the one true thing about this article that I will not contest. It has not stopped. But black on black crime has not stopped either. And it just dawned on me as I was watching a documentary about Trayvon Martin and what was being done around his legacy and what people were doing and how they were doing it and the reason why they were doing it. I'm not going to get into that. If you want to know, watch the documentary. Very good documentary. Think you should pay attention to it. Not going to give you all the details of everything. Sometimes, like my son tells me, you have to do your due diligence. You have to do your search. You have to get in there. You have to find out. Make yourself read something. But in this case, if you're a child who lives in the inner city or grew up in the inner city, you know the percentages that the newspaper put out about crime is going down, crime has went left, this is stopped, that is stopped, is bullshit. Because we live next door to the killers, we live next door to the rapists, we live next door to the people that most people put away for life. We live with these people. These people walk past our children every day. And we seem to rally every time it's an officer puts a child or a person of color in a horizontal position. We seem to go full-fledged about that. But we never seem to go full-fledged about someone on black crime. To this day, I've seen Black Lives Matter. Still, it matters. But who does it matter to? You know? Who does it matter to? Hold on, man. You never get a break when you do these things. What's happening, guys?
It's just me, Pop. I'm just checking in.
Yeah, I'm doing
Okay, go ahead, do your thing.
all right, holler at you when I'm finished. So I'm gonna read something else. And I'm telling you, you gotta pay attention to these things in the article because they're very educational. Here goes another line in the article. The system wasn't built to protect black people. And until we get to the root cause of policing and policing brutality and the difference in the way police treat black folks versus white folks, we're not going to get a change. Hell, I want y'all to pay attention to that line. I'm going to read it again. Read it again because you understand what I'm talking about. The system wasn't built to protect black people. And until we get to the root cause of policing and police brutality and the difference in the way that police treat black folks versus white folks, we're not going to get to change. Well, how are we going to change on black crime? Because they only following what they see. Because if we treat ourselves like that, what makes you think they're not going to treat us like that too? Why do all of us think that when we get into these high and mighty seats that we can look low on the haves and have-nots? How many rich black people do you see marching in the streets about a minority's death? You know why they not marching? Because their thing is if that little probably did something anyway he hadn't. Suppose this is how this goes. Because most of these black rich people come from these environments. You very seldom see them there. Now I will give you this. There's a young man who I know very well by the name of Hawk Newsom. Great guy. He believes in the movement of the Black Lives Matter because he believes in the black man first. Never had a problem with that. But I always had a problem with my boy Hawk marching on police but never marching on a black man. Especially when you know another black man shoots another black man dead in the street. Dead in the street. We don't march on his doorway. We don't march down the street. We don't march to his door. We don't do that. We do not do that. What's up? What's happening? How you doing? You could just drop. You need a stamp?
Yeah, because I'm going to.
You want to take it with you? All right, hold on. Hold on, people. Don't go nowhere. I'll be right back. You ain't interrupt me. This is a beautiful day. It's live. That's okay.
Okay.
That's all right.
Yes. The boy's not in today.
Nah, he probably took off today.
You see how they had
That's why I got it a quiet day. I can do my extra podcast.
Oh, nice, nice. Oh, you chilling. Okay.
Yes.
Nice. Okay.
I always tell people I never have a problem with crossing the day.
It's nice.
It's a nice day today.
My office is closed too, so.
And nobody's here today. Just going to take the sides.
Okay.
Because usually when they put them through the machine, it rips open. Right? I wish they would let me have a class so I can basically tell everybody how to go about it so they don't lose materials. Sometimes I tell people they return it, and they return it in plastic because it's ripped up in the machine.
And then
Yeah.
stuff not getting sent and all of that. Okay.
Have a good day.
Yes, you too. Happy holidays.
Happy New Year to you. Same to you. Sorry, people, I'm back. So where did I leave off at, man? This is one of them trying years. You're gonna have to forgive me. So where would I leave off at? I do apologize. I left off with my boy Hawk Newsom. I think he does a remarkable job with the Black Lives Matter. He does. Because he definitely marches for the black man. Problem is he marching the white man for the black man. Sometimes you have to march on the black man for the black man too. Because that black on black crime is crazy. I'm not saying that police brutality doesn't exist. Because it exists. I am what you would call the vision of police brutality because I lived it. For anybody who grew up with me in my neighborhood, we were harassed by police. I'm not going to say all the time, but we didn't get passes either. We didn't walk through and everything was all right. It ain't like every day you walked out your door and they was there on your ass. But you had days. You had days you could move and days you couldn't move. You had days where you could run free and do what you needed to do. And then you had days where everywhere you turned, when people were there, you drove a car, they were there. That was one of the biggest fears of a lot of black men growing up is getting stopped by police with no license. Nowadays, that's not even a big issue anymore. But it's articles like these that it sometimes gets me a little topsy-turvy because we don't take it to the fact of what we do to each other. We always looking at what another group is doing to our group. And you know, it's like I always tell people, you got people who march for civil rights. You got people who are marching for human rights. And you got people who are marching for the right to freedom. And I tell people, if you don't know what you're marching for, be careful how you march. If you don't know what you're speaking for, be careful of the voice you use. Now, here's the reason why you're going to find police brutality to be the number one thing that minorities are going to use right now. And not because it is happening, don't get me wrong. But they're going to use it because they can get paid. See, you can't get paid off of black on black crime. I want you to hear me. You are not going to get paid for black on black crimes. Here's what I'm going to tell you. A white officer shoots a minority down in the street. You can protest the Police Benevolent Association. The unions, they get together, whatever, they figure it out. Some type of financial stability can occur. It can happen. Black on black crime, there's no money in it. The only thing you get gratification of is having someone tell you that you yep, I'm doing the show. I'm gonna have to call you back. All right. What's up, Sky? What's happening with you? You came to see Grandpa do a show? You hung up on me yesterday and called me back. Grandpa call you back. No, I'm not live. No.
Grandpa, what you holding?
Okay, I ain't holding anything. I'm gonna call you back, sweetie. I'm doing something. I'm gonna call you back. I'll call you back. So that is one of the reasons. And it's a lot more to the article. It's a lot more. There's a lot more that, trust me, if Mr. Bunn was here, he would be like, oh, why you not talking about it? Because that's not the point that I want to get across. I don't want to get across 8% of officers live in the city. I don't want to get that across. I don't care where the officers live at. Why people keep making that a big deal? Do you really want officers from your own neighborhood to patrol your neighborhood? No, you don't. You know you don't want that. Let's not be foolish. In order for an officer to do well in the neighborhood, he needs to grow with the neighborhood, not grow in the neighborhood. He don't want to grow up with it. No, he needs to grow with the neighborhood. So as a rookie, he needs to take it from there. That's his first day in the neighborhood. And if he wants to keep that neighborhood, he should adjust himself as so. Walk the beat, walk in the store, say hello, good afternoon, how are you? My name is Officer Malone, Officer Jarrett, whatever you know, that's how you establish yourself. But they yet to have come up with the statistics on this black on black crime. What are we looking at, people? Look at all the people being arrested for murder, for killing the same minorities that the police are shooting down too. They're not even being equally combined because to them it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. I'm telling you, it's not a big deal. It's like we don't want to speak on black crime, but we'll speak on police brutality before we speak on black crime. You want the police brutality to stop in your neighborhood, you gotta get the black on black together first. You gotta show unity. I was watching the Star Report. Star said something I thought was beautiful. He said, we don't have black communities, but we do got black neighborhoods. I thought that was brilliant. We don't have black communities. We haven't had black communities in a long time. But we do got black neighborhoods. We got Latin neighborhoods, Jewish neighborhoods, Italian neighborhoods. We have that, but we don't have a community. So, you know, it all goes down. It all plays a part, man. We're looking at something that we're never going to be able to change, you know? How do you expect police officers to be more mindful to our young black men if we're not mindful to them ourselves? Even me. I'm not excluding myself. They call it racial homicide, but black on black homicide is something else. Black homicide rates are 7 to 8 times more of whites, though blacks have a rate of poverty only 4 to 5 times that of whites. See, anytime they talk about our minorities, they always throwing out percentage numbers. That's why you always hear me used to talk about percentage numbers, because that's what I used to read until I realized, wait a minute, why do they keep putting a percentage when the whites are leaning on the black, but never put the percentage when the blacks are leaning on the whites or when the blacks are leaning on each other? Today, homicide is the leading cause of death among black men and contributes significantly to the shortened lifespan of black male. In about 80 to 90% of the cases, the black victim was killed by another black, and about 52% of the murder victims were acquainted with their assailant, just as we expect that suicide victims are. You see what I'm trying to tell you? The percentage of black on black crime is high. In 80 to 90% of the cases, the black victims were killed by another black. And about 52% of the murder victims were acquainted with an assailant. Forgive me, I don't have my glasses. Plus, I'm doing a lot of things as I speak, but I'm in it. Let me read another part that I thought was. This is an article that was written by A.F. Poussin. I don't even know who this is. It's called Black on Black Homicide, but it's a very good article, 9-page article, and he goes in. And, you know, it's one of the lines that I thought were a little overwhelming. Let me read the line. Blacks have been indoctrinated by criminal justice systems which places higher value on white life than on black life. That part I'm not so sure about, and I'm going to tell you why. White people commit crimes. Black people commit crimes. People commit crimes. But in my world, what I see, in my community, I see my black men shoot down more black men than I have ever seen an officer do his duty. Sorry, I just, it's the truth. I don't live in a in a righteous community. I don't live in the worst community. Some say it would be the worst community in the Bronx at one point. Yes. You have to remember, I come from an era of abandoned buildings. We didn't have this much crime as well. I mean, we found bodies, and I mean, listen, it didn't stop. And they trying to say it's a negative psychological thing with black people killing black people. Can't be greed, can't be jealousy, can't be just a misunderstanding. It has to be a negative psychological thing. They label us all the time, and we are not aware of it because we're too busy looking at other things. We are too busy looking at other things. And they constantly always saying black community in particular is a dire need of homicide prevention centers with programs and prevention resource and treatment. But the thing is, like I said before at the beginning of the broadcast, we do not have black communities. And I've always explained to people, they say, you know what, in my community, you do not have a black community. Why you don't have black things? Because you don't have a black community. That's why you don't have black things. You want them to put things in a black neighborhood. Look at your black neighborhood. I want you to really look at your black neighborhood. Garbage on the street. People throwing garbage out the window. Not caring or who they, touching each other. Violating your neighbor. Where's the community? Back in the days, when I was a kid, they used to hold dances in your lobby. We used to have dances in the lobby where you could actually go to a party in the lobby of your building. And the people from the block would come in. We were a community back then. Mm-hmm. And the kids played at the community center. That was real talk, man. We were community back then, man. I remember as a kid in my community, we were known as the North Nuba community. It was called North Nuba. I'm just saying that when you read these articles now, pay attention to what you're reading. If you're an activist, watch the words that they choose to describe the percentage. And then go look at your own percentage. As much as people want to, white cops ain't the one taking out our young black men. Although they are the ones being seen pulling the trigger. They're not doing it often and as frequently as the ones who are not being seen. That's the trick to society. You say you want a white man to stop shooting a black child in the street. How you going to ask a grown man that when he's watching another child shoot another black child in the street and he walks over the body? A homicide chase changes with the color of the skin. People, please remember that. I don't care what nobody tells you. I don't care if you come from a small town or a large town. The color of the skin can change a homicide. This is Big Man. I know it's always been a pleasure, man. I always enjoyed doing my own thing. But this one was one of those articles where I said, hey, man, I got to pay attention to that, man. Because that one ain't quite true right there. That that thing, every time they blame these white cops, and believe me, man, there are several white cops who are shooting black young men and women down in the street. And down in the street is just a physical form of shooting them anywhere. But black on black crime? Shit. We'll sit here every day and pretend that it don't exist. Because it's easy to overlook. It's easier. It's easier to overlook than to confront it. Because when you live in these black neighborhoods, you don't want to confront the person who might be terrorizing the neighborhood. You know why? Because he knows where you live. You can't make secret phone calls anymore because they'll tell you. That's who made the call. They put it on public sheets. So, we'll figure it out when it's time to figure it out. But I will say to this. If we can help each other, and we can do what we need to do for each other, they'll stop reaching out to help us. Because we'll be able to help ourselves. I don't get it. We scream out Black Lives Matter for about 3 to 4 years strong. We were screaming that strong, and it made sense. Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. But does it matter when it's a black on black crime? There are so many young kids who we forget. And like I always tell people, there's always something that brings up these type of statistics in my mind and make me talk. In this case, it was Devontae Bryant. I don't want to talk about him because of his age. But that's black on black crime. And we ignore it. We got mothers who are burying their children who can't even afford to. But you march on the police for police to bury those. Why you don't march on the mothers whose son killed another mother's son and help her or make her or him or her help them pay for that? Even if you marching just to say, hey, we're here to help you, to raise money to bury your child. And at the same time, we're marching to say, please stop shooting each other. These stories are far and few and often. I hope we learn, people. I hope we learn that life is more important than death. But at the same time, death is pleasant because you don't got to deal with life. Just take our time, people. Think about what we doing, when we doing, and how we doing it, and why we do it. This is Big Ran. You know me, always a pleasure to bring out what I bring out. You know? Because I'm like that. Till we meet again, people. This is Big Ran. I want to say thank y'all for helping me put my radio station together, TRT Radio. Make sure you check that out. Citrus 3, Living Room TRT Radio. Make sure you cash out. Living Room TRT cash out. Make sure you PayPal. Everything is Living Room TRT. Just type in Living Room TRT on the Google and you see everything come out. The radio station, everything that come out. Everything on the Living Room TRT. I done took care of it, man. Let's watch our black on black crime. That's going to be the one to take us there. It's going to be our own kind. Enjoy your weekend, people.